Okay, I just want to give you an introduction to Adobe Illustrator. It's a powerful vector-based illustration program. I've opened it up here. On the left, when you start out, you have all your tools. On the right, you have property palettes that will change the properties of the objects that you create. So I'm just going to start by, I could go File, New, and open up a new object to draw. But I'm going to open up one that I've already created and recreate it. Just even though it's not the best looking illustration, it will show you some of the tools that you would commonly use when you're making illustrations for engineering documents. So let's start with the pen tool. So the pen tool is used to make straight lines. So I can just single click and it will draw a straight line. If I hold down Control and click, it will let go of that selection, and I can click and drag with the pen tool to make curved lines where the extent to which I drag affects the slope of the line at that anchor point. You see I'm using the selection tool up here. There's the selection tool with the black arrow that selects the whole object, and then with the white arrow, the direct selection tool, with which I can select just one anchor on an object and move it where I want. And we'll use the pen tool to draw the lines in the diagram, but let's start with the distillation column. For that we need the shape tool. We can make the body of the cylinder with the rectangle. Now we want to make this look a little three-dimensional, so we want the top and the bottom ellipse. So I'm going to take the ellipse tool and make the top of the distillation column. And I'm going to use this ellipse quite often to make the remainder of this distillation column. So there's the top of the distillation column. This is going to be the bottom. As you can see, I want the actual bottom of the cylinder to be curved, so I'm going to join these two shapes, the rectangle and that bottom cylinder. To do that, I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool. If it's not open, you can click Window and find Pathfinder. It's right here for me. And I've just clicked the Unite, so it merged those two shapes. Now you can see that brought this rectangle in front of this ellipse. I want to put it behind it, so I'm going to select it and Control Shift left square bracket, which puts something all the way to the back. Okay, so there's my cylinder for my distillation column. Now I'm going to want to make the trays. So I'm going to click the cylinder, and I want a copy of it, so I'm holding down the Alt key and I'm dragging, and that makes a copy of the shape. And I'm going to want to make my arrows for my vapor. And I just did that with the pen tool. Now I'm going to change the property. So far we haven't altered the property of anything here. So I've selected the line I drew. Right now it has an interior color of white, which it doesn't show because it's just a single line, and then the line color is black. I want to make that line color red. So I'm just going to change it to red. I'm going to increase the stroke width, just make it a little bigger. And now to get the arrows on there, we go to the stroke property palette. So if you click on that, you should see down here arrowheads, and you can select the type of arrowhead that you want. So there's an arrow. Now I'm going to click Alt and copy that, and now I can use that arrow for the condensed, for the liquid phase that should be going down from this tray. So I just clicked on the side, and I can turn this around. If I want to turn it in increments of 45 degrees, I can hold down the Shift key. So now it's exactly 180 degree turned, and I want to make that arrow blue. And again, I want that arrow in the back of the tray, not in the front. So I'm going to go Control Shift left bracket to move it all the way to the back. There. Now I've got one tray, and now I want to keep this as a single piece. So I'm going to click and drag and select everything, and I want to make it into a group so that when I move it, it all moves together. When I copy it, it all gets copied together. So I'm going to go Control G to group it. So there's one tray. Now I don't want to do that, however many times I need to, so I'm going to select that, hit Alt, make copies. I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know how many I need, but I'll just make enough. So I don't want to take the time to try to position these perfectly either. So I'm going to take these, move them over the column I've already built, select everything but that column, and I'm going to center it. So now they're all positioned horizontally, and then I'm going to use this vertical distribute by the center key to put them all in the right position. Oh, but that one. That was the top of the column. Again, I'll do the same thing. Select everything, then I deselected the column by holding down Shift and clicking on the column, and now I'm going to reposition them. Now I don't want the top and the bottom, I just want those, and I'm going to put this ellipse back on there. There. Not as many trays as I have in this one, but that's okay, I'm not going to copy it exactly. Now we want to make the liquid pool at the bottom, so I'm just going to take that same cylinder we drew for the column, put the same ellipse on top. Now I just want to make that shorter. So I use the direct select key to select only the anchors on the top. And I can just drag those anchors down to whatever height I want. Now notice that this has a fill color that is actually a gradient fill. So I can select that shape and go up to the color properties palette and change the color within the shape by selecting this fill color box. So I can make it yellow or green or whatever. If I want to make it have a gradient, I need to use the gradient tool. So I'll click on the gradient tool, and now I've just put this black and white gradient in there, and I don't want that. I want to change the color of the black and the white. So I'm going to click on that black box, go up to the color, and you can see this is just in grayscale. So I want to switch the palette to CMYK or RGB, whichever one you prefer to work in. I like CMYK. And I'm going to change that to blue. Got to go down, select the white, and change that to, I don't know, a lighter blue. There's my gradient on that. I also want to put a gradient on this shape, but I don't want to have to go through all those steps again, so I'm just going to select that shape, select the eyedropper tool, and get the gradient from the shape I just made, that ellipse I just made. There. So now I have the liquid for the bottom. I'm going to group that, Control G, and put that on the bottom of my distillation column. And I can do the same for the vapor phase too. I'm just going to take that, I'm not going to put the gradient in it, I'm just going to make it red. Now you can see that's not exactly, I'm also going to take away the outline. That's kind of blurred. It's actually what we call feathered, so I'm going to take the whole shape, select it all, and I'm going to group everything together with Unite, and then I'm going to go Effect, Stylize, Feather. And let's look at the preview. It's a little much. I'm going to have maybe a 10-point feather. And there's my representation of the vapor. But I don't want that in the very front. I'm going to Control-Shift backspace and then Control right bracket to bring it just in front of that distillation column. So now let's make the pump. So the pump is basically right there. I'm going to make an ellipse. So I've selected the ellipse tool, and I can make a perfect circle by holding down the Shift key while I'm using the ellipse tool. If I take off the Shift key, then I can move it anyway. If I hold it down, it makes a perfect circle. So I'm going to make a perfect circle. Then I'm going to switch back to the rectangle tool and just draw a rectangle right there. And now I'm going to select both those shapes and unite them. So now I've got my pump. I don't want it to be red, so I'm going to select it, go up to the color palette, change the interior to white, and make the outline black. maybe increase the outline width. So this is the width of the line. Increase it to 2. There we go. So here's my pump. Now let's say I want to make these valves. To make triangles, you can go to the polygon tool. So I went to the shape, clicked on the polygon tool. If I click and drag, right now it's doing a hexagon. If I press the up arrow, septagon, octagon, press the down arrow until I get the triangle. That's what I want. So I got my triangle. I'm going to hit the select key, move it 90 degrees, select it again, Alt, drag to make a copy, and rotate it 180. Join these two. See, it looks like I've got, use the pen tool to make the line, and then it looks like I use the ellipse tool to make the valve, but it's filled with black. So there's my valve. I want it a little smaller. I'm going to select it all, group it, Control G, and I'm just going to drag this corner while holding down the Shift key, which keeps the proportions of the width to the height equal, and make it as small as I want. So there's my valve. And let's see. I'll go from there. We got one valve there. I'm going to hold down Alt, copy the valve down to here. We need a reboiler and a condenser. So again, the ellipse tool, hold down the Shift key to make a perfect circle. I want it white inside. And I just need the arrow that goes across it, so I'm just going to use the pen tool, and if I hold down the Shift key with the pen tool, it'll draw a 45-degree line. So I got the line, I need the arrow. I click on the stroke properties, change that to just an arrow. May want that a little bit longer, and use the direct select key to move that a little bit. I'm going to select the whole thing and center that horizontally and vertically. That doesn't look too good, so I'm just going to move this up a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to group those. There's my reboiler. I made a copy and just turn it 180 degrees to make my condenser. Make them a little smaller. There's my condenser. There's my reboiler. I don't think I'm going to make this whole shape, but so now I just switch to the pen tool. I'm just going to show you how to draw the lines that you may want. So I just drew a line coming off the top. You can see that it's filled this shape with white, and that's because that white box is selected. So you can see that that's not what we want. So to get rid of that, we have to select the none option in the shape fill. So that would be the line for our vapor coming off the top. Just a couple other things. So to put in text, you use this text tool. So I'm going to put in Distillation Column. I'm going to draw a box. And I'm going to type Distillation Column. I think I spelled that wrong. I hit the wrong key, but you can see that is definitely not as large as we would like it. So I'm going to go over here to the character properties and increase the font. No, 36, no. Let's just keep going until it's, yeah. So I've increased the font to a size that looks reasonable, but I'd like to have it centered. So I'm going to click the paragraph properties and center it. There. Now I can just draw a box around it with the box tool. And make it clear in the center and have a black outline. So with all those tools, you should be able to get pretty much this far and be able to create an illustration such as this. I think I'll end it there.